Okay, good afternoon. This is the Mayor's update following the regular meeting of Council that we had yesterday, March 23rd. Just roll through it again. Little Britches Parade Organizing Committee started us off coming as a delegation. Carol Lyle and Hank Leefrink came. These guys have really stepped up to make this parade happen this year, and honestly, this is the way these events are supposed to be run, with community individuals taking them on and making them great. And I cannot thank Mr. Leefrink enough. He's the one that really started pushing for the changes with the parade, and everybody knows it's now on Saturday of that weekend, which is a much better way to run that thing on a long weekend, is to have it on the Saturday. There's also another group, I'm not going to talk too much about it yet, but that are planning a River of Music, is what they're calling it, through High River following the parade. What's normally happened with that Little Britches Parade is that the parade happens in the morning, and then downtown High River is a ghost town for the rest of the day. So with it being on the Saturday, these guys have piggybacked with another event that's going to happen right after the parade, and that's this River of Music, and it's going to be lots of musicians and bands playing downtown on street corners and all over the place. So this is really, really cool how this is all coming together, and thank you very much for everybody, Carol Lyle, that stepped up as well to get the parade and the things happening. So Carol and Hank came just to give us an update on the parade end of things. Everything looks like it's in place properly. They've done a great job in making the insurance requirements very easy for participants of this parade. That's always been a real tough thing since the town took it on. Insurance requirements when you're a municipality putting on an event, it gets real goofy, because the reality is that people are more apt to sue the municipality rather than just a group that's putting on a parade. So they've done a great job of making it easy for participants. It doesn't happen unless community individuals step up and make these things happen. So I could go on forever. All I can say is thank you very, very much for doing this. Shelley Coote came next with a couple of things, one that was later on in the agenda, but it's just the allocation of the FCSS community grants and the United Way partnership grants. There's lots of them. I'm not going to sit here on the video and list all of them. They're available on our website as to where the money was allocated. You know, everything from Big Brothers and Sisters to SNAPs to the Hearts and Mind programs to Rowan House. They're all on there. So if you want to see the allocation of those funds, you can go directly there. And thanks very much to Shelley for coming and doing that. There were a couple other delegations from the Foothills Regional Emergency Services Commission and the Canadian Red Cross. Both of those canceled just before the meeting because of the accidents on the highway north of town on number 2. Because of what happened with that, and they weren't able to get down. So and we wish everybody the best. There were a few High River residents that were in that accident yesterday, so I'm watching updates on everybody. Sounds like everything's doing good, but our hearts are with everybody that was involved in that accident yesterday. So adoption of some minutes, we nixed that one until the next meeting, just because they were actually a draft set of minutes that was set in, and not the final set of minutes. So we'll do that next meeting. The Fortis franchise agreement, this is just housekeeping, and what it is it's an agreement between the town of High River and Fortis for them doing the electrical service in this town. It's just an agreement allowing them to use the roadways and everything else and the boulevards for their lights and their trucks and everything else for access when they got to fix stuff around town. Pretty simple thing. The next one is our rate bylaw that we do every single year. This one was just the inflationary increase on the rates at 3% across the board. The actual rate adjustments, especially on our utilities, Town of High River is still a long ways behind on our utility rates for even getting close to the provincial average, where we have to get to. But that'll get done June, July, something like that, is where the rest of the actual utility rate bylaws will, rates will be set. So, member appointment to our policing committee. We just appointed Mr. Bob Fleming to the High River Policing Committee for a term ending October 2017. So thank you very, very much, Bob, for putting your hand up and getting involved. Building Canada grant program. This is a federal grant that that we've applied for, and we've picked a couple of projects. The federal government has limited us as to really what we can apply for this year, and they've really structured it so that it has to be critical infrastructure repair upgrades that you need. We can't ask for money for rec centers and those kinds of things anymore on this. So in the future, it sounds like we will be able to, and we've got people working on that. That's all I'll say about that one. But so the ones that we've applied for is a UV upgrade to our water treatment plant, $600,000, and then our main lift station over by, I guess it would be east of Birchwood Park. The big one that's there, that's a $2 million ask. So those grants have both been applied for. We'll see where it goes. The 2015 financial plan. This is probably the most critical thing that we've been working on, other than berms and dikes and mitigation projects. But now that those are in place, we've got to get High River back on a solid financial plan and a future for us. So the biggest one is on our taxes this year. Everybody's going to receive a 2% increase that'll be used for capital infrastructure reserve. And we will have policies in place that mandates future councils to put that 2% directly to capital infrastructure reserve. That is not to be used for new capital. It's to be used for maintenance on existing capital infrastructure and our assets. So what I'm talking about: roads, sidewalks, sewage system, potable water system, the berms and dikes. We're going to have, when the Southwest Dike is completed, we're going to have probably over 11 kilometers of berms and dikes. They're going to be fine for, up to 5 years sort of thing, but then there's maintenance that's going to be needed to happen on all of those. So I think with the 2% touch on our tax bill, with the protection we've got in place, I don't know of anybody in High River that's really going to be fighting that one too hard with after what happened, and now we've got protection in place and we have to protect that asset so that we continue to be safe in this town. So there's a lot to be said about this financial plan. Number one, where we're currently at, we have a $5 to $7 million deficit every year on what we should, not that we're going in debt every year, but there's $5 to $7 million that we should be putting into existing infrastructure that we don't have the money to do that. Tom Meyer, our CFO, and I've told everybody in this town that how much of a hero that man is, and he continues to be, because he puts these plans in place looking at the best interest as to how to set this community up for success in the future. This is not a 2-year plan. This is 20, 30 years that this is setting us up for. So, and I'll do it right now, and I'll challenge all future councils to keep this plan going, because the worst thing that happens with these plans is you get a plan in place, you start to get somewhere, a new council comes in, has a totally different idea, and the whole thing falls apart. That can't happen if we're going to do this properly. So the challenge is out there, and all I can do is ask that everybody act responsibly in the next council, so that we don't get into the position that we're in right now, and a lot of it doesn't have anything to do with the flood. It's just mismanagement of where we've been at the last number of years. So I'm not going to get into it. We're fixing it. It's got to be done right. This is the right plan to be on for High River, and I believe in it 100%. So we'll continue on. I love it. Future looks bright. High River Nanton Emergency Management and Fire Rescue Agreement. That's just the agreement between Town of Nanton and High River when we're trading fire trucks and emergency services as to how much we bill each other. Same with Strathmore. Did the same thing with those guys, so it's just an agreement between the 3 municipalities. Next one, sandbag policy. We have put in a policy for sandbags in this town that the town of High River is no longer responsible for supplying sandbags to residents. And that means it doesn't matter if it's snow melt or river. We have invested, well, along with the province, over $100 million in putting protection for this town in place with the berms and the dikes. My mind and council's mind, these sandbagging days in June are a thing of the past. We have never had protection like this before. The other problem with these sandbags, I learned my lesson last year and I'll take full blame for it as to what happened, but it was a real learning exercise to me to see exactly how these sandbagging days work. And we spent just under $10,000 on the big blitz. I think it was back in March actually when we had the big snow melt, and all the snow melted really quick and went into everybody's backyards and everybody was screaming for sandbags. So I told the town, hurry up and get some sandbags. So we did it. So at least half of those sandbags went to MD residents. We don't look at tax assessments and don't ask you for your financials and your driver's license and everything when you come to get sandbags. So we know, because it's a small town, it's not hard to figure out when everybody's watching each other come and get these bags. A lot of them went to the MD residents in the town of High River. Taxpayer paid for them. The second part about it is an issue that I witnessed personally, and that was I was at an area in the northwest of High River, and I watched a 3/4 ton truck heaped with sandbags pull up to a duplex. You could have built a 3-foot berm around that whole duplex with the number of sandbags in the back of that truck. And I knew who the people were, and the funny part about that is that that's not proper use of sandbags, number one. Number two, I got a phone call 3 days later asking when the town was going to come and pick up their sandbags. Some questions I just don't know how to answer, I'm sorry, but you know, those are the kinds of issues that we get into. The town's responsibility has been taken care of with these berms and dikes to protect us from the river. If my backyard is crappy, and it is, that's my responsibility to fix the drainage in my backyard from snow melt going into my basement. I talked about it last year. I got a really crappy backyard, and the way the drainage goes, I'm getting it fixed this year, and it's going to cost me money. That's my responsibility. I don't put that on the taxpayers of High River that they got to supply me sandbags every year to save my snow melt into the basement. I don't know how to even put some of this stuff. Regardless, the sandbagging policy, that's why we did it. The policy from this day forward, the town will retain sandbags only to protect our own critical infrastructure, being lift stations, the water treatment plant, those kinds of things, so the town continues to function. You are responsible for your own property. No other municipality that we found, we don't know of any other municipality that supplies sandbags to their people, and you know, now that we have the protection we do, we're done. Away we go. Mayor's Task Force. This was just the terms of reference for the Mayor's Task Force that we created last month. This task force has done an enormous amount of work already in getting things in place. There'll be more updates to come in the next month or so, so look forward to that. Calgary Regional Partnership Transportation Pilot Project. This is the advantage that we have in being part of the CRP. They're doing a pilot project, which is a regional bus transportation system that is going from Calgary down to Nanton High River is now involved with it, Okotoks is involved with it, and you know, whoever else is involved with CRP, Black Diamond, Turner Valley, I think, are in. And you know, we're very encouraged. We like this. We want to see it. We want to be part of the project. But I'm really curious to see what the demand is, number one, and number two, what is the cost benefit analysis look like following that? Does it make sense for High River? It'll be really interesting, but that's why you do pilot projects, is to figure all this stuff out. So that was it. We did add an in-camera session to it, and I won't talk about it. All I'll say is it was just a land issue that we were dealing with, so it wasn't in the agenda, so that's why I'm mentioning it, but it was added to. That's about it. Sounds like we're getting some better weather this week, so after the snowstorm, welcome to March in Alberta, but looks like we're getting double digits by the weekend, so have a fun weekend, have a good week, have a good month. I don't know when I'll see you again, a couple of weeks, so take care. Thank you very much.